Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss about a particular topic of Standard 8 from your Honey Com book, the first chapter, that is Best Christmas Present in the World. I hope you will understand in my simple language. The best Christmas present in the world, this is the name of the topic. And here the key word, this is present. First of all, you have to understand what is the meaning of present. It has two certain meanings. One is present, what you say in Odia, upasthiti, which is found in front of you. Present. How many of you are present in the class today? That is present. It means upasthiti in your class. And the second one is what in this topic indicates its present means it is a gift. You can read out the name of the chapter, The Best Christmas Present in the World. It means it is going to be the best gift in the world, and it is a Christmas gift. You can go through this chapter vividly, word by word, sentence by sentence. You can understand the whole story and of the chapter. But today we are going to discuss very briefly, very vividly, so that you can easily understand. The first one is, this is a story of a letter. This letter was found by our writer, and the name of the writer is Michael Morpurgo. You can see the name is clearly mentioned at the end of the topic, Michael Morpurgo. Michael Morpurgo got this letter from a junk shop, but directly not from the junk shop, and the letter was hidden, that was fixed inside a desk, and the desk is the key of the story and from which the letter was found. And what happened and who had written this letter to whom, we are going to discuss very clearly. See, first of all, writer Morpurgo went to a junk shop, and there he found a roll top desk that was completely damaged with water and sun. Still, it was made up of oak. You know, oak is a precious wood, and the cost of a table which is made of oak tree or oak wood is very costly. So, writer had little money to buy, so he decided that he would buy this roll top desk, and he will repair it, and he will use in his everyday work. And that day from the junk shop, he took this roll top desk and he started working on it in the Christmas Eve. And now another key word is Christmas. You know, Christmas, it is a festival. Festival of Christian people. We usually celebrate this Christmas too, but in a different way, isn't it? But the Christian people, they observe it with much more delight, and it comes in the end of the year, isn't it? 25th December, you have remembered. And before the day of Christmas, writer started working on the table so that it will be once again fine and it can be used. And when he started to open the roll top disc one by one part, he found a hidden treasure. It means a hidden drawer, and inside the drawer, that is also a drawer, a small drawer, and inside this small drawer he found what? A tin box, black tin box, a small black tin box, small black tin box. You can underline this phrase, and I will tell you why you are going to underline this phrase. A small black tin box. It was sellotaped. Sellotape, you know, sellotaped. It is taped on the top of it, and it was a piece of. There was a piece of lined paper, note paper, and written on in a Saki handwriting. In a cursive handwriting, something was written. What was written? Receipt. That was received on 25th January 1915. You can guess. The desk was damaged. It was found in the junk shop, and the person who had written, he was a soldier. And it was during 1914 and 1915. It means the First World War was going on. And it was written, very important line written, you can quote it, to be buried with me when the time comes. When the time comes, a soldier says to be buried with me when the time comes. So when the time comes, buried means when he is going to die. The soldier has no certain time of his death. He or she can die at any moment. And it was a very emotional letter written to his wife. And oh, okay, I forgot the name of the soldier. The name of the soldier was John McPherson. John McPherson. And his wife's name was Connie McPherson. So the letter was written by John McPherson to Connie McPherson. And he says, I knew as I did it that it was wrong of me to open the box. Writer says, our Murphy says, I know it was wrong to open someone's letter, but he could not control his curiosity. And finally, he opened up the letter. Okay, inside the box, he says, inside the box there was an envelope and the address was written Mrs. Jim McPherson. It means Mrs. Jim McPherson is Connie McPherson here. 12 Copper Beaches, Bradford, Dorset. It was the address. I took out the letter and unfolded it. It was written in pencil and the date was at the top, December 26, 1914. So Murphy says, when I opened it up, when I opened the box, black tin box, there was a letter found and the address was written what? 12 Copper Beaches, Bradford, Dorset. It was the complete address of Connie McPherson, which was on which address the letter was going to reach. But unfortunately, it was not reached. Now, writer is opening the letter. Morfurga is opening the letter and trying to read what is written inside the letter. And the letter was very clearly mentioned in the letter. What was mentioned? It is a story. It is a story of the soldiers. You know, students, the soldiers have no personal enmity, no personal issue for which they fight with each other. Soldiers fight for their country, and it is definitely a political issue between two countries. And World War was such a political issue, and on which the soldiers were fighting. But here it is a portrait of the soldiers of two parties. The writer has clearly written in this letter, and that is sent to Connie McPherson. Okay, let's start. He has written, dearest Connie, I write to you in a much happier frame of my mind because something wonderful has just happened that must tell you about at once. He says something amazing going to happen here. Amazing happened with him, and he is going to write very clearly here. He says they were standing in their own trenches. Yesterday morning. Yesterday means in 1914. In 1914, before the Christmas, the incident was happened, and he says we were standing in our trenches. Trenches means the digs, a long digs. Okay, inside which the soldiers they hide themselves and fight. And he says, it was a beautiful morning I have ever seen. The cold, the frosty, as a Christmas morning should be. During Christmas, there we find the uh, ice fall, frosty, he says, and very cold also, as a Christmas morning should be. And I should like to able to tell you that we began it. We began means Jim McPherson or John McPherson and his soldiers and his soldiers. They told that we are going to start. Jim McPherson says it was we began it, we started it. What they started? Jim McPherson is a soldier from British, and the opposite soldiers were from Germans. There was a fight between the England and German, and he says the truth is that I am ashamed to say it was that French. French means the German soldiers. They began it. What they began? They started. What they started? They started waving their white flags. White flag, it is the symbol of peace. It is the symbol of settlement, samjhota. Now, Jim says the opposite soldiers, means the French, they started it, and they started waving the white flag. And showing white flag means to create, to establish one settlement, one friendship, and they says Happy Christmas, Tommy. Tommy means the soldiers of England, and Fizz means the soldiers of German. And first, the Fizz, they came, they told that Happy Christmas, Tommy, Happy Christmas. But it was not understood by Jim McPherson. He thought that it may be a strategy of the opposite soldiers or the enemies. So he instructed his soldiers, be alert, telling be alert. It might be a strategy. And Happy Christmas, they also told Happy Christmas, Fridge. Why? Because they had to react according to the enemies. If the enemies are showing the white flags, it means they have to respond that. So the soldiers, they responded. But Jim McPherson did not understand why suddenly during the war they showed the white flag. And we all did, but suddenly one of them was off in his grey coat and waving a white flag. Don't shoot, lads, someone shouted. And they also responded. The Jim soldiers also, the Tommies also responded. And during that, someone from the opposite, he stood up, showed the white flag, and another one, the chief of the soldier, okay, he stood and told, don't shoot, lads. Lads means the soldiers, don't shoot. Okay, Jim thought that it might be a strategy, it might be a trick of the opposite soldiers, the enemies. But it was not a trick. It was Christmas Day, so they started congratulating them by waving the white flag, by telling them Happy Christmas. And no one did. He says no one did. No one from the opposite, no one from the enemies or the Free soldiers, they did not fire. They did not shoot. Okay. And then there was another fish off on the no one did. Okay. Another fish on the parapet and another, sorry, just a minute. Okay, during this time The three soldier, they stood up one after another. They started telling best happy Christmas, Tommy's happy Christmas. And the Tommy soldiers also, they could not control themselves, and they also stood up. Then and they are coming out, telling happy Christmas Tommy's, happy Christmas trees. And Jim McPherson could not understand how to control them, and he could not, and he did not also, because he was amazed to see that the enemies, and particularly their soldiers, they are coming out from their places and congratulating them and waving them and wishing them happy Christmas. And it was really the strange thing. It might not have happened earlier in this world. And they came out. One of the Germans was waving a bottle above his head. Bottle above his head, it is a drinks, and it is a Christmas day, Tommy. He told, we have snaps, we have sausage, we we meet you. Yes, it means they asked the permission. We have the things, the food, the drinks to celebrate Christmas, and they took the permission of the Tommies, and the Tommies also responded well, and everybody came out from the no man's land. No man's land means that is the border, LOC. And by this time there was dozens of them walking towards us across no man's land, and not a rifle between them. Little Private Morris was the first up. Little Private Morris, another character. He is the chief of the soldiers. He was the first man, and before him, many more soldiers without rifle, without gun, they came out there from their trenches, and they moved towards the no man's land, means border. And he says, "Come on, boys, what are you waiting for? Come on, boys," means he invited all the soldiers. And then there was no stopping them. Nobody could stop them. They means the soldiers from the both sides. I was the officer. I should have stopped them there and then, I suppose. But the truth is that it never even occurred to me I should. Jim McPherson says, I was the officer. I could have stopped them, but I did not stop them, because it was really amazing to see the soldiers were coming out having their friendship. It means it was the sign of the end of war. End of war means the end of destruction. If there would be no war, there will no loss of life. There will no loss of wealth. Peace means there is progress. Peace means there is friendship. And in this critical situation, in puzzled situation, McPherson could not say anything. He was just going on watching the soldiers. All along their lines and ours, I could see men walking slowly towards one another. Grey coated, khaki coated, meeting in the middle. Khaki coated means the Britishers, grey coated means the Germans. They were coming one after another, and they started meeting with each other. And I was one of them. He says, I was one of among the grey coated soldiers and khaki coated soldiers. I was part of this. In the middle of the war, we were making peace. I was the part of this. Being a soldier, he could have maintained the protocol, but they could not. They did not. During the war, they were making friendship. It was the amazing. What Jim McPherson was writing to his wife. You cannot imagine, dearest Connie, my feelings was I looked into the eyes of French soldiers, and particularly the French officer, means Little Maurice, who approached me and outstretched his hand, and he told hands off. He said, gripping my hand warmly and holding it. Okay, it means Little Maurice came forward and shook hand and told This is Hansolf. And I am from Dorset, Dusseldorf. Sorry, Dusseldorf. I play the cello in the orchestra. Happy Christmas, he says. I belong to Dusseldorf and I play cello. Cello is a musical instrument, and he played cello in orchestra. Orchestra, you know very well. And Jim McPherson says, myself, Captain Jim McPherson, and a happy Christmas to you. I am a school teacher from Dorset in the west of England. Here, this is a very important introduction of Little Maurice, means Hansolf, and Jim McPherson. Okay, the question might be asked to you. So, who was Little Maurice earlier, and who was Jim McPherson earlier joining in the soldier, joining in the army? And oh, Dorset, he smiled. I know this place. Little Maurice says, Dorset, I knew, knew this place. You know, Germans have a particular language. They don't know English like Indians. We learn English from books, from our teachers, by special English classes. We never watch English movies. We watch English movies that is dubbed into Hindi. So, learning English from book, it is also a very important thing. What Little Maurice done? And he says, I knew Dorset. Before discussing about Little Maurice and Jim McPherson, sorry, it is Jim McPherson, not John McPherson. Jim McPherson. That Little Maurice has had read a lot of books written by Thomas Hardy. And out of these books, those were far from the mating crowd and Return to Native. In those books, the very famous novels written by Thomas Hardy, and he had read. And Thomas Hardy's specialty is to write in a particular area. Okay, like Malgudi, like Malgudi. Thomas Hardy has created in his own world. It was Wessex. Okay, and everything he was creating, it was out of Wessex. And he told, I knew Dorset. We shared my rum ration and his excellent sauces, and we talked Connie. How we talked? He spoke almost perfect English. Okay, both of the officers, they shared their food, their drinks, and they talked in English. Okay, Jim McPherson writes to his wife that how we talked, he talked me in English. He was talking perfect English. But it turned out that he had never set foot in Dorset. But the interesting thing is that he could have spoken English, but he did not put his step in the Dorset ever. As we are speaking English, but we have never been to London in whole through our life. Never even been to England. He had learned all he knew of England from school and from reading books in English. Everything Little Maurice learned, everything in English he learned from schools and books like we Indians. And his favorite writer was Thomas Hardy. As I have told you, Thomas Hardy is far from the mating crowd, written to the native, and many more novels are there. He had read everything. And they started talking about the hero Bathsheba and Gabriel Oak, the heroine. It is Bathsheba is the heroine, and Gabriel Oak is the hero, the Sergeant Troy, and the Dorset. These were the character of Thomas Hardy's novel. As I looked about me, there were hurdles of khakis and grey everywhere all over no man's land, smoking, laughing, talking, drinking, eating. Hansel and I laughing. I were also sharing what we left of your wonderful Christmas gift. Everywhere he saw the khaki coated people and the grey coated people. They were talking, laughing, having fun. Even Jim McPherson and Little Maurice, they were also sharing their food and drinks for food and drinks, and it was very amazing time. The writer, it means Jim McPherson, didn't like to lose. We agreed about everything, and he was my enemy. There never was a Christmas party like it, honey. Everything I have to agree that he was my enemy, and I shouldn't share my Christmas party with him. Jim understood that if there would be friendship between two soldiers, between two countries, then no one will die. No one will lose their family members. No father will be lost. No child will be orphan. Okay, so they started playing a football match. The football match was going between the Tommies and the Fridge, and it was very interesting football match. And they played for few hours, and you know um, English people, they love to play cricket because cricket was invented in England, and German people, they were expert in playing football. So Germans, they loved playing football, and the Britishers, the English soldiers, means Tommies, they loved playing cricket. But it was a place where one cannot play cricket, so they started playing football. Okay, and during that, the Tommies lost their match. Okay, but Little Morris said the Tommies had played very nicely because they were not expert in playing football. They were not well trained like the Germans, but still they played well. Okay, and if it would be a cricket match, then Germans might have lost their match. The Little Morris told that. It means Little Morris appreciated their game, their style of playing, and their way of playing. So it was very happy ending that nothing was lost. They all started. They all enjoyed the match. They all enjoyed the day, especially. And after that, they went back to their own places, to their own trenches. And from that, it was in the evening time, they started singing the Christmas carol. Christmas carol means Christmas songs. Generally, Christian people, they sing on the particular day. This is um, on the Christmas celebration, and they started singing the Christmas carol, the Germans. And here, the Britishers also, the Tommy soldiers also, they started singing the carols. So it is the sign of a happy ending. And here, Jim McPherson understood the war is no more, and here very soon we are going to end up our year, our war. And he also at that part of departing, he also congratulated to Little Morris, told that very soon the war is going to be an end, and you will have your own he will be enjoying with your own family. And both of them, they good wishes, they wished happiness. It means they wish to everyone, each other, that after the end of the war they will be with their own families. So it was the whole story. Vividly you can go through this chapter line by line. You can understand it more vividly. In this way, the letter was finished. And finally, writer says, means Jim McPherson says, dearest Connie, by Christmas time next year, this war will be nothing but distance and terrible memory. And he says, and in the next year, the war will no more. Dearest Connie, by Christmas time next year, this war will be nothing but a distant and terrible memory will be left in our mind. It means they were not going to meet again in the next year, in the next Christmas celebration. I know from all that happened today how much both armies long for peace. And he says to his wife that it happened because both of the armies, they want the peace, not the war. War is not the solution. Peace is the solution. We shall be together again soon. I am sure of it. And he says, we shall be together again when the war will be an end. So finally he says, yes, lovingly, Jim. So the letter was this much. The letter was, and this letter was read by our writer Marfurwa. Okay, and after that, what happened, I will tell you in the next videos. Thank you. Have a nice day.